everyone, I'm Sydney from Viansa. I am in the marketing department there, but today I am reporting from my tiny studio cottage in Sonoma. Today I'm really excited to show you these 4 wines that are going to be in our Viansa At Home Tasting pack this Friday and for the continuing week. It's going to be a lot of fun, so I'm excited to have you all here and excited to show you more about these wines. Our first wine today is our 2018 Muscat Canelli from the north coast of Sonoma County. It's a little bit of that cooler climate. And many of you may already be thinking, you know, Muscat, I don't know, it's a super sweet wine. Many of you may be excited. I don't know, for me, I'm always a little bit of a sweet wine skeptic. I tend to like my white wines a little drier. But this one is pretty special, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it a sniff. And just right off the bat, I'm getting like a huge hit of like peach syrup. Recently made a kind of batch of Bellini syrup, which I highly recommend, from some fresh peaches. And this to me smells kind of exactly like opening the lid off of that jar. So we're getting that peach syrup, like, but a little bit more complex, a little bit of white flour, like a honeysuckle type white flour. We're seeing a decent amount of viscosity here too, the way it's clinging to the sides of the glass. And I'm not getting much smell of any sort of like alcohol off of this wine. So I'm thinking it's gonna be pretty sweet, had I not already known that Muscat was sweet. Yeah, so this is like, you've got that sweet, that stone fruit that carries over to the palate, but you've also got a really beautiful balancing acidity there that kind of helps cut through some of that sweetness and keep it really just smooth and gorgeous to drink. So there are, you know, countless versions of Muscat. I think it's something like 200. As far as a pairing goes for this wine, I would, you know, for a dessert, lean towards something that's pretty tart, as this is pretty sweet, and I think they would play off each other really nicely. Think like tart cherry, either tart cherry clafoutis or a tart of some sort with cherries. I'm really stuck on cherries with this wine. I'm not sure why, but I think it would be absolutely beautiful. Even just a bowl of kind of really cold, semi-tart cherries in the summer with this ice cold would be so good. And then the other pairing I had, which was a savory pairing that came to mind, was a sort of fatty curry. So something like a coconut yellow curry with something like a lighter meat like fish or salmon or chicken type of curry with vegetables. This would be absolutely gorgeous, especially if there's a little bit of maybe lemongrass in there to kind of play up the acidity and the citrus notes of this one. Go ahead and pour this out because I still have more work to do this afternoon. We've got our 2018 Vermentino. So our Vermentino is labeled as Sonoma County. It's coming mostly from the Russian River Valley area. So that is really well suited for Vermentino, as it is a traditionally Mediterranean climate grape, and the Russian River Valley is, while a little bit more inland than the North Coast, it's also still marine influence. So really nice for something like a Vermentino. This is a lot drier than the Muscat Canelli. You can already smell it. And it's got a little bit of that kind of like lime zest. There's a slightly vegetal, fresh quality to it. And I don't really know how to explain it other than like really delicate spring, fresh cut grass. I'm almost getting from this, like that sort of vegetal sweetness, but a little bit of earthy, a little bit of that kind of green matter, essence. So almost like a fresh bay leaf. And there's a little bit of that kind of minerality, like almost a little bit salty, but very, very fresh, almost like a salt air type of aroma. Yeah, so we're continuing on with that kind of lime brightness. This is very acidic and light on the palate. A lot of people have asked for a similar substitution for the Sauvignon Blanc, which we had last summer. We're having again this summer. It's coming soon. But we continually sell out of that wine every season. I think simply because obviously it's amazing and everybody knows the name Sauvignon Blanc. People are less familiar with Vermentino. However, if you like that kind of bright, acidic, kind of citrusy, easy drinking wine, you're gonna love Vermentino. If you're getting ready to cook at home, this would be an amazing pairing for your Easter feast if it includes lamb, especially with mint. This would also be a great pairing, for those of you who are vegetarian or just looking for a lighter meal with less prep in the summer. Something I always really enjoy is like a watermelon and arugula salad with feta and mint, just super juicy aromatic flavors. You get the compounding saltiness and fattiness of the feta, and that's gonna go really beautiful with this Vermentino. All right, so we are on to our 2017 Reserve Pinot Noir right here. And looking back at 2017, that was a particularly warm winter and then really cool spring. So we ended up getting some very small berries compared to the average size for this Pinot, which, as you may know, contributes to the ratio of the juice inside to the skin. And the skin is where kind of all those complex flavors and tannins live. So if you have a small berry, you're gonna have a lot more skin, compared to juice as you are on a larger berry. So this resulted in a really, really flavor bomb Pinot from that year. So we're really excited about this one. It is one of our newest releases, and we're really excited to share it with you guys in this tasting pack and just by itself. So Pinot lovers, this one's for you. On the nose of this, we're getting immediately the presence of oak. And that is due to the fact that this was aged for 19 months, 40% of it on new French oak. So it's got a lot of that kind of warm, almost vanilla-y creaminess that we're smelling. And then backed by the Pinot, we're getting a little bit of almost cranberry or red currant. It's very sweet and mellow on the nose. All right, so on the palate, we're feeling those tannins from that 2017 vintage. They are definitely making themselves known, but it's still, a light, very versatile Pinot Noir, as Pinot Noirs continue to be across the board. We're getting a little bit of more of that kind of tobacco, some of those woody herbs on the palate, like rosemary or thyme. There's a really persistent finish on this, and I'm thinking this could be, something that's really nice with a dish that combines some of those woody, earthy herbs. This would really stand up to a heftier dish than a lot of Pinots that you may be familiar with, because of that tannic structure from this particular vintage and these grapes that we have in this bottle. So I'm thinking something, you know, as heavy and complex as a rosemary roast, kind of like, you know, this could be your perfect red component to your roast lamb for Easter, and or something that I really have loved making and enjoying with this wine lately, especially while in shelter in place in my very small house, is preparing ribollita, which is an Italian traditional soup coming from Tuscany. It originates from, you know, peasant cooking in Tuscany, and it literally means to reboil. So ribollita is a soup that is, you know, tomatoes, white beans, kale. It's starting off with a sofrito, so that celery, carrot, onion base, a little bit of tomato paste, a lot of garlic, and then simmering that for a long time with some crusty old bread hunks. So you may have bought bread thinking you would go through it. It was a great staple to have on hand while you're stuck at home. Maybe it's sitting there getting dry. Ribollita is a perfect use for that. It is hearty. It's, you know, got this umami, salty complexity from Parmigiano, and, you know, that kind of just warm, comforting richness. And I think that with some rosemary focaccia would be absolutely primo with this wine. Actually, I know. I had that for dinner last night. And we'll probably have for lunch again tomorrow because it's soup. You make a bunch of it and it lasts forever. All right, so our last wine is our 2016 classic Cabernet Sauvignon from Sonoma County. And I can't drink this wine without thinking of our lovely tasting room host, Kat, who likens this cab to the kind of, as she would say, Kate Hudson of cabs. So very girl next door, very approachable, you know, a little bit of that sweet kind of refined quality to it, but very, very approachable. So I already have a little bit in my glass. I'm gonna add a little bit more. Yeah, so we've got a little bit of that kind of raspberry kind of tartness to it, very fruity. It was in 2016 a kind of cooler August, so being a cooler summer, they didn't ripen as quickly as other years, so, you know, we gave them a little bit extra time on the vine to ripen, but that kind of led to a really, really ripe, beautiful quality at harvest. So this is definitely going to be a little bit more fruit forward than your typical Cabernet. So yeah, again, to raspberry, a little bit of that complexity coming through from wood smoke kind of notes, a little bit of earthiness. Yeah, it's almost got a sort of juniper and sage kind of like cool herbalness to it, if herbalness is a word, but very, very herbaceous, perhaps that is better. Herbaceous, a little bit more of that raspberry, but this time it's a little less acidic. It's a little bit toned down, so maybe like a cooked raspberry, maybe like a raspberry compote or raspberry sauce. A little bit of that vanilla from the oak component. Again, this wine, as with the Pinot, was aged for about 18 months, so 19 on the Pinot, 18 on the Cab, in 40% New French oak. So we're still getting those kind of vanilla full body notes from this wine as well. And I would pair this with, you know, something meaty but a bit lighter. So like a pork ragu over pasta or polenta would be absolutely beautiful, or something like venison, something a little bit, you know, earthy, something with a bit more complexity, a little bit more gaminess. So venison would be great. And that's all we have for you guys today. So thank you for joining me on this at-home tasting. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you all at the summit soon. And yeah, I'm really excited to keep sharing these Viansa At Home tasting packs with you all and with all my friends and family across the country. I hope you all are staying healthy, happy at home, and we will see you next time next week. Well done.